morning. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching the F&O Show on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. I'm Navneet Saluja D'Souza.
Well, the warmest welcome back to you, Navneet. It's great to have you back. I am Agam Akil.
Thank you so much, Agam.
Yes. So the markets have slipped into red after opening with gains. The Nifty trades below 11,700 mark. Oil marketing companies are the top laggards. NIT Technologies and DLF are seeing a rise in open interest, with traders taking fresh short positions in their respective futures. Lakshmi Vilas Bank announced its merger with Indiabulls Housing Finance Friday. While Lakshmi Vilas Bank is locked in an upper circuit, Indiabulls Housing trades with marginal gains. In bearings, PE Asia will acquire 56% stake in NIT Technologies. NIT has gained over 10%, while NIT Technologies trades with cuts of close to 3%. And at least 5 bidders may show interest in Jet Airways after lenders sought expressions of interest today. That's a Bloomberg Quint exclusive. But what are we keeping an eye on when it comes to the markets, Navneet?
Well, Agam, the trends seem to be changing after the opening session. We've seen the volatility, that's the India VIX, that's rising as much as 9 to 10% in today's session. So definitely keep an eye on that one. It's inching very closer to that mark of 20. But for the markets, we're off the opening levels, but still trading pretty much in the positive territory. Nifty right now around 11,670. The futures, the premium now has actually come down to 65 points. Let me just highlight this point for you. The premium for the April series was on the higher side, as the rollovers, the roll cost this time around was pretty much higher, which meant that the rollovers were on the long side. After 95-point premium on Friday, it's come off to levels of about 65 points. Besides that, majority of the indices right now are trading in the positive territory. The Bank Nifty, that's the other one to track. The premium there too has cooled off a bit, 174 points premium for that one, though Bank Nifty is trading with gains of nearly 0.2% as we speak. But remember, there are key events lined up for today. You'll get the BJP manifesto. That announcement will come by. Also the mutual fund data ahead of it. Some bit of volatility definitely seen. But let me highlight the options data for you. For the 11th April expiry, if you look at the maximum OI concentration, it is at the 11,600 put strike and the 11,700 call strike. But in today's session, we've seen some bit of call riding also coming back. As you can see it on your screen, 700, 800 call strikes are witnessing some bit of OI addition. But again, very important to highlight, 11,600 was the strike for weekly as well as the monthly expiry on Friday, which saw the maximum riding. And in today's session, that continues to be pretty much active.
Absolutely. And we're going to keep an eye on that level because it's going to be crucial. But let's move in and talk about all the stocks which are buzzing in trade, perhaps seeing a lot of surge in open interest. And there are plenty actually in today's day of trade. Right at the top, you have DLF, which is taking a plunge of 4% today. And this is largely on account of some bulk deals that took place earlier in the session. This is a 27% rise in its OI. Keep an eye on this one is because it's gone back below the mark of 200. And this is despite the rest of the realty sectors doing well. IGL is the other interesting one, up and about, up 3.5%, in fact, 22% added in OI. NIT Technologies, of course, also buzzing largely on the deal. Bearings PE Asia will acquire the company for 1,394 rupees per share, and controlling stake actually in it. Indian Bank and Mahanagar Gas, among others, which are also seeing a surge in OI. Fresh longs coming through for both these. Are we looking at substantial change in open interest on the declines? Diwan Housing Finance, which is in the F&O banner, which was last Friday, it is looking at an 18% decline in open interest, followed by CESC, Engineers India and Maruti Suzuki. As you can see, there really isn't too much change in the spot prices, but though we are looking at some amount of declines in open interest. We continue to track some of these counters. Watch out for Diwan Housing Finance, Indiabulls Housing Finance, of course, and NIT Technologies, which remain in the news.
Well, there are a lot of stocks to keep an eye on, but specifically on the show today, we will be discussing these 4 stocks with our technical experts. Agam already highlighted Diwan Housing. Remember, that's the new entrant into the F&O band for today's trading session. There was huge amount of long build-up seen on in Friday's session. The other one, on back of the deal, NIT Tech, we'll discuss that one as well. Remember, it's the top performing stock in the Nifty ID index for 2018, and also Indiabulls Housing and Ultratech Cement, which has been upgraded by CLSA. If you look at the brokerage note, the target price for that one has been increased.
Okay, before we get in our guests for the show, here's a reminder, if you have any queries regarding futures and options market, you can call us on 022-4540-4141. And of course, write to us on Twitter and Facebook. And guys, we are back on YouTube, I believe. Do add the AskBQ hashtag. And on that note, let's get in our experts for the day. Navneet Daga of Yes Securities and Amar Singh of Angel Broking, who are joining us on the show. Good morning to both of you, and thanks for taking the time out. Navneet, I start with you. Let's see how you are seeing indices now, what direction you expect them to move.
Hi, good morning, Agam. Look, basically, we have seen this this last week or so. We have seen the trade is getting narrower and day by day, and we are seeing also the build-up is getting narrower. It's been highlighted that basically 11,600 puts options for the next month for the current series monthly as well as weekly is seen kind of a writing on the lower side, and simultaneously we are seeing some call writing also happening on the higher side. So the overall positioning seems to be that there is going to be a pause mode in the market, and the chances that we might see unless we start with an earnings season that is starting with this week, there are the chances that we might continue to see this range bound trading action continue within this 100-point odd band. 11,600 on the lower side, and simultaneously facing a lot of resistance at an impending resistance of 11,760 odd mark, where the next lifetime high levels are. So to my understanding, the market would try to digest the kinds of gains that we have seen in the past couple of weeks and wait for a next directional move. But largely it's looking likely that the bullish positions that the FIs have created are likely to be intact, and they're waiting for a breakout of a 760 odd levels on the Nifty, 11,760 odd levels on the Nifty. That's where the next up move would be started to trigger in. But it's looking likely to me the consolidation would be there for the next week or so.
Okay, fair enough. Amar, good morning to you. Come in on this conversation. What is your indication? How are you reading the indices and the moves from here on?
Yeah, a very good morning. See, what we are seeing is that Nifty definitely continues to be in an uptrend, and any dip is being used as a buying opportunity. But the recent top which it has made, that was an all-time high, 11,760 on the spot. So clearly reflecting that somewhere or other there's some profit booking, and there's also some amount of respect for that level, because that was an all-time high. And but I would say that still the trend remains positive. And yes, earnings season also going to start, so we'll have to watch out for that as well. But global cues are more or less, I'm saying that it's also positive. We'll have to watch out for crude oil, whether it takes out $70 or not. That's one thing which could have some trigger. But overall, I would say Nifty definitely continues to remain strong and firm. Bank Nifty also technically, yes, the uptrend remains intact. Yes, we've seen some decline in the momentum. So that says, so we could witness some consolidation, but lower levels would be met with buying interest. As far as Nifty futures April series is concerned, crucial support is seen around 11,620, 640 zone, and resistance on the upside is around 11,850, 860 zone. So we could see some consolidation, and with the overall uptrend definitely remaining intact.
All right, so expect some bit of consolidation to come by in today's trading session. In fact, that's what we are witnessing with VIX inching higher. But let's get you some strategies going ahead. We've got Navneet, who has a short strangle. But before we get you his strategy, let's tell you what a short strangle is. It is when one sells an out-of-the-money call and an out-of-the-money put in anticipation of decrease in volatility. Well, this strategy becomes profitable when volatility decreases, followed by contraction in the option premiums. Navneet, over to you. Take us through your strategy.
Look, the way we've explained that basically it's looking likely more of a consolidation. I was looking into some of the heavyweights options, IV likes of HDFC Bank. It has collapsed from almost 24 odd levels to 2019 odd levels, and at the money options. So it's giving me an indication that Bank Nifty would be largely a kind of a range trade within that band of 500 points. And simultaneously on the lower side, we have seen some kind of support emerging at the levels of 30,000 levels on Bank Nifty futures. Having a similar view and suggesting a short strangle by selling in a weekly expiry of 11th April, selling in 30,000 put options on the lower side and simultaneously selling in 30,500 call options on the higher side. We're getting in premium inflow somewhere in the range of 230 to 235 in the current market price. and keeping a stop loss at the levels of if the premium widens towards 310 odd levels, one can keep a strict stop loss and look for a target of immediate target in the range of somewhere to 100 odd points. That's where one can look to book profit in that. And my overall view is basically this weekly expiry likely to be in that particular band of 500 points of 30,000 and as well as 30,500 on the upper side. So one can do this strategy with a stop loss of 310 on total outflow.
Okay, Amar, what about you on the Nifty Bank? Do you expect that to move in tandem with the Nifty?
Yeah, I would say that looking at Nifty Bank, we are continuing to see this, the strength definitely remaining in Nifty Bank, and also I would say, but what we are seeing is that there is some cooling which is happening. So on the upside, the recent high that was made, almost of 30,648, 650. So, and also looking at one of the technical indicators, so that's clearly pointing that the markets are overheated and there could be some pullback. But again, that pullback should be used as a buying opportunity. As far as Nifty Bank is concerned, I would say that very crucial support for Nifty Bank comes at around, if I look at the levels, somewhere around 30,000 levels would be a good level. And on the downside, I would say further downside, 29,850 and 30,000, that's a crucial support zone. But upside, I would say, seems to be capped right now, 30,500, 30,600. But yes, any dip should be used as a buying opportunity till we don't see it closing below 29,800 levels.
Okay, so 29,800 should be the support that one should be watching out on Bank Nifty. These are the strategies on the indices, but let's also get you some strategies going on the stock futures front. Amar, I'm going to come back to you. Which are the stocks which are on your radar today?
Amar, this one is for you.
Okay. So the first one to look at is IndusInd Bank. Because if you look at it, IndusInd Bank, technically what we are seeing is that the stock continues to remain extremely strong across various time frames. Yes, on the upside, it did correct from almost 1850 levels. But the trend still remaining firm and strong on the upside. So I would say that this is one stock one can look at. So any pullback towards 1765, 1770 levels, currently it's around 1795. So any pullback of 1.5% can be used as a buying opportunity with a stop loss of 1722 and a target of 1859 on the upside. So that's the first one. And the second stock to look at is Infosys. Infosys, if you look at Infosys, currently it's around 762 odd levels. And technically, this is one stock which continues to remain strong across various time frames, and even from a short-term perspective, the stock continues to gain strength, and the momentum, the buying momentum is still strong and firm. So Infosys is a buy. So any pullback towards 755 levels can be used as a buying opportunity with a stop loss of 743 and a target of 792 on the upside.
Okay, Navneet, the same question to you. Your stock ideas for today?
Look, I got a long call on Tata Steel. Basically, this stock has formed some kind of a consolidation breakout on the upside. It was trading in the band of 530 to 550 odd range, and with some kind of a multiple resistance seen at 550 odd, it has broken out of that range and seen a good closing above that levels on the futures, and it's continued on the upside momentum. So to my understanding, the momentum likely to continue in the near term, and looking for an immediate target of somewhere near to 580 odd. With a small stop loss on the lower side of 540. One can look to enter in the range of 552 to 555 at the current market price. The second stock would be basically a short idea. Basically, the OMCs are reeling under pressure in the last couple of days, and it's looking likely that the continued momentum on the downside would continue. BPCL just given a breakdown below 360 odd levels. So to my understanding, one can look for an immediate target of 338 on the lower side on BPCL. And with a small stop loss of 365, one can still initiate a short trade on that.
Okay, so that's one long and one short call coming in from Navneet, but let's also discuss the other stocks which have been in focus. And the first one on the list is Dewan Housing. Remember, in Friday's session, the stock was quite active. In fact, for today's session, definitely it's in the F&O ban, as we've seen the total open interest, which is currently at 95% of the market-wide position limit. Some bit of unwinding pressure will be there in today's session, but let's get a view since the stock was up nearly 10% in Friday's trade. Amar, if I could come to you on the chart, do you see more upside for Dewan Housing?
Yeah, looking at Dewan Housing, I would say the stock did consolidate significantly and then from almost 100 levels. Currently, it's around 164. Technically, I would say that it continues to remain positive in the short term and the intermediate term trend. However, on the long term trend, the stock still remains bearish. So what ideally is likely to happen is that the stock could witness some further upside momentum towards 165, 170 levels, and from there we could witness some profit booking. Because the long-term trend clearly shows that the stock could again witness selling pressure at higher levels. So ideally, if you look at it, somewhere around 175, 170. So 170, 175 zone is a very crucial resistance zone where we could witness profit booking in this particular stock.
Okay, so that's your view on the Ivan Housing Finance. The other stock which is in focus is NIT Technologies from the information technology sector, after we understand that Baring Private Equity Asia is going to, or rather looking to pick up 56% stake in the company, where we already understand the promoters of NIT Technologies will sell their 30% stake. Now, NIT Technologies was one of the biggest gainers, not only against the NSE 500, but also the Nifty IT index in the year of 2018, and actually in the financial year gone by, it hasn't really done badly. In fact, it's gained as much as 78% in 2018. And over the last few months, especially from mid-January through February and March, it's largely consolidated around the mark of 1310, 1315, 1320. It really hasn't done too much. It may have even hit 1350 at some point in time or the other, but it's been largely range-bound over the past, well, 2 or 3, I would say, months. The real question is, where do we go from here, and will things change, or have things changed when it comes to the underlying factors, at least technically, or for that matter in the futures and options space? Navneet, come in on NIT Technologies. How would you trade this one? I know it's seen some very large time in terms of consolidation, but what's the view here?
Well, it's looking likely that it's going to spend more time between that particular band of 1300 to 1360 odd range. I was looking into the option chain. The implied walls are trading at somewhere near to 24 odd mark. It's giving you at a stock specific level a 24 odd mark, and the stock like NIT, it is in the consolidation. So to my understanding, the chances that we might not see a fairly big breakdown or breakout trade in this stock until we see a closing about below 1300 or somewhere closing about 1360 odd levels. So to my understanding, the consolidation still would be there, and once we see a breakout about that level of 1360 odd, the overall trend suggests that the stock seems to be moving higher from here on as well. But to my understanding, I'll wait for a confirmation about 1360 odd levels to enter into that momentum trade. However, in this current series, it doesn't look like that it might happen, because there is a strong build-up on the upside as well on the calls. So to my understanding, there's a greater chances that we might see a subdued movement continue in this stock.
All right, NIT Tech in today's session is definitely seeing some bit of profit booking. Remember, the 52-week low for this counter was somewhere about 800, and now it's already moved higher. As Agam highlighted, it was up almost 70% or 78% in 2018. But moving away from NIT Tech, the other stock which is in focus is Indiabulls Housing. After Lakshmi Vilas Bank, they've announced the merger with this housing finance company. Well, the stock opened lower in this news. If you could just pull up the intraday chart first of this, and we've seen a bit of recovery coming in from those lower levels as of now. As you can see, there was a gap down opening, but right now the stock's mildly trading in the green, up almost 6 to 7 rupees. But last week, in anticipation probably of the deal, the stock was up for the week in the last few sessions that we've seen, 12% higher, in fact, in the last 7 days. Amar, Indiabulls Housing, the recovery that we've seen from the lower levels, do you see any trade here?
I would say that Indiabulls Housing definitely continues to remain extremely strong, but I would say current levels and slightly higher levels, we've got strong resistance. So somewhere around 935, 940 levels, that's a crucial resistance zone. But yes, any dip can be used as a buying opportunity. Ideally, a dip towards 900, 880, 890, that could be a good level to enter, because the stop loss needs to be below 870 levels. And the target on the upside can be 945 levels.
Okay, and perhaps the final stock that we want to address from our side is Ultratech Cement. Do remember we have a positive brokerage note this morning from CLSA, and they've upgraded Ultratech Cement to buy from Outperform. And we're seeing an increase in open interest today as well. And despite that broking note, we really haven't seen too much movement with respect to Ultratech Cement. It's seen longs last Friday. Its underlying is down less than a little over 0.5% today. And well, of course, CLSA has hiked its price target to around 5,025 from 4,500 rupees per share. Even that price target was much higher than current market levels. But what are the underlying technicals telling you, considering we have seen so much traction in the cement sector in general as a whole? Navneet, your view on Ultratech Cement, how would you go about this?
Agam, in fact, if you remember, the last week itself, we have been on the buy side on this stock, and to my understanding, the overall setup suggests that much more higher targets are possible in this stock. To my understanding, the way it has sustained above that 4,000 odd mark, it's a greater chances that momentum might continue. But however, I'll not like to chase because normally such a big news flow, the stock tends to normally the weaker hands tends to be getting into the stock on the news flow driven. So to my understanding, if we're getting some kind of a mild retracement, even at the levels of 4130, 4150 odd levels, even a 1.5% kind of it gives me a good decent support zone to enter into this trade, and with a positional stop loss of somewhere near to 4,000 on the futures mark. I'll look for an upside, and upside looks to me immediate somewhere near to 4,400 mark is also possible in this expiry. So overall bias to be on the long side, and somewhere if you're getting any retracement, look for an enter into that with a positional stop loss on the overside of 4,000.
Okay, a lot of cement counters, in fact, doing well. Ultratech is down 0.5%, but remember on Friday, especially on the future side, there was some long build-up seen as the stock was up nearly 3%. Well, moving away from these stocks, let's also address some viewer queries, and we're getting a lot of your queries on India Volatility Index, which has shot up in today's session. It's up almost 8 to 9%, and a lot of our viewers want to know what would be the impact of higher wicks on the markets going ahead. So, Amar, if I could come to you, 20 now on India wicks. Markets are off the opening levels, but still pretty much in the positive territory. Tell our viewers, in fact, what is the impact of higher wicks on the markets?
See, if you look at India VIX had been consolidating, and in March itself it was as low as 12, and then again currently, as you rightly said, it's around 20. So increasing VIX clearly shows that there is more of, I would say, uncertainty, and volatility is likely to increase further, and people are definitely being on the cautious side. And if you look at it from a long-term perspective on the charts, I would say that in November, first week, it had made a high of almost 22.82. And technically, I would say sustaining above 19 levels could lead to further upside. So that could be a cause of some concern. So slight caution is definitely advised.
Okay, so caution is definitely advised, and considering it continues to, keep above 19, as Amar has mentioned, there could be some more in store when it comes to volatility. But with that, I'm going to move in and take a few of our queries. Guys, if we're just going to be able to take queries from the futures and options space, for all the cash queries, we will take them over to Ask BQ, which plays out at 12:30. We do have a question from Vivek Kanodia, and he wants to short options for Kotak Mahindra Bank. Now, I'm not certain if he wants to sell the call option or a put option, but Kotak Mahindra Bank currently at 1,346. Navneet, let's talk about the direction where you're seeing Kotak Mahindra Bank, and perhaps if you could also help Vivek, with selling certain options in this case.
Well, the overall trajectory is up on the stock, and it's looking likely that it can be a good fruitful strategy to be on the short side of an options, because largely we have seen the trend has been up, the bias has been up, and it's been it's looking like somewhere near 1,300 it form a good support now. And to my understanding, it's better to create some kind of a strangle strategy by shorting 1,300 put options and simultaneously selling a 1,400 call options. Is giving you a good inflow at this point of time. To my understanding, it's likely that we might see a gradual up move, but the bias would be a bit positive. But somewhere the upside would be capped in the range of 1,400 on the higher side. So selling an options would be a good strategy in this particular stock.
Okay, that's Kotak Mahindra Bank for you. Let's quickly address the other query that we are getting, and that's on Vodafone Idea. We've got one of our viewer who's bought 5 lots of Idea, and the strike is 20. That's the call strike at 0.15. That's the premium. He expects the underlying to bounce back, and he's already decided his exit price of 0.50. Let me tell you, that's the top stock future gainer also for the day. Vodafone Idea. It's in news because of the rights issue, and there are some reports indicating that the FIs could subscribe nearly 15,000 to 18,000 crore out of the total 25,000 crore rights issue, which is open for this stock. Navneet, if I could come to you for this one, 3.5% higher in today's session. The premium paid is 0.15. Do you expect more upside for this counter?
Well, there is a lot of stock-specific news flow which is happening on this stock. The right issue is still to be subscribed. To my understanding, in fact, I was looking at an entire option chain another day before yesterday. There is a massive build-up on the higher side. A lot of traders have been short on the call options on the upper strike of somewhere in the range of 18 to 20 odd. There has been a mild unwinding happening on the call options, so giving me an indication there can be a possible upside. But that upside should be used to take the profits if somebody is sitting on that. So to my understanding, looking at the charts, somewhere in the levels of 18.5 is also possible in this expiry itself. Another 5.5 to 6% kind of an up move would be possible. But making a case for the stock expiring about 20 odd levels, looking at the kind of a build up, it's looking very difficult. So any up move, one should look to exit rather than chasing the stock on the higher side on the momentum trade.
Okay, time to take just one more query. We have one from Sarojar, and the question is on Eicher Motors. Eicher Motors call, to be precise. Eicher Motors is currently trading at 20,825. I'm not certain if Saroj wants to buy or sell that particular call option of 22,000, but Amar, where would you stand here, and what would you do with the 22,000 Eicher Motors call right now?
I would say that looking at Eicher Motors definitely seems to have formed a bottom. So there is a possibility that the stock could bounce back. Only entering the stock above 20,900 levels can be a buying opportunity, and then one should look at booking profits around 22,000 levels. So yes, any breach above that level, then one can go in for a call option of 20,000 levels.
Okay, very quickly, I just want to squeeze in one more count, and that's DLF, which is the top loser. If you look at the entire stock futures space, it's down almost 5%. Heavy amount of short build-up, 30% higher in terms of open interest. Navneet, if somebody's initiated a short, what should be the target on DLF on the downside?
Look, to my understanding, there has been a quite a build-up in the range of somewhere near to 180 odd levels. So it has sealed multiple attempts to close about that level of 200 mark. It has seen a kind of a retracement below that level a number of times now. So to my understanding, there is a possible grind down, and one might see some kind of a long unwinding happening on the stock, and the stock might take a support somewhere in the range of 180 odd. So somebody is looking, somebody is already in the short trade. Trade your stop loss, continue to maintain. To my understanding now, the trail stop loss should be in the range of closing on 200 levels, and one can possibly wait for levels of 180 to book your profits.
Okay, well, we've run out of time on this show, guys, so I'm going to take a moment to thank both our experts, Navneet and Amar, for joining us and taking us through their views, as well as solving some of our viewer queries. For more updates on the F&O space, you can check our website out, bloombergquint.com, especially the futures and options pages, where you will have plenty of data for you to peruse through for your trading purposes. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of the F&O Show, but for more news and updates, stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint.